Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. I am Mr. John, and last month, if you remember, we were talking about my main man, Joseph, from the Old Testament in Genesis. And man, I keep telling you that Joseph was one of my favorites, if not my favorite dude from the Old Testament. But man, my guy coming up next is one of my other favorites. And it's hard to pick favorites. Have you ever noticed that when it comes to people in the Bible? Like, they all are so great and so fabulous. But we ended last month in a situation, a horrifying decree made by the Pharaoh, that they were to take his army, go into the Israelite villages and find all the male babies and throw them into the Nile to die, to kill the babies. They wanted to decrease the population, if you remember. The Israelites were continuing to have babies, lots of them, like families would have multiple kids, and they were just growing way faster than the Egyptians. And the Egyptian pharaohs were like going, we've got to stop this or they're going to overtake us. They're going to get so many that they're going to realize they can just overtake us. So they try to do this by killing the males so that they couldn't reproduce or make any more babies. So along comes a woman who hears the decree, and she has just had a baby. And she decides that she is going to do everything she can to save this baby. Now, what she does doesn't sound like it's going to do very well, right? She makes a basket. She puts some tar in the bottom so that water won't engulf it, and it'll actually float almost like a boat, right? We're thinking boat here. And she puts her baby into this basket, and she actually lets it flow down the Nile River. You would think, oh my goodness, this baby's just going to go on a riverboat ride and not end well, right? But no, she sends her daughter Miriam to just kind of follow along with this baby. And oh, did I tell you the name of this baby? The name of the baby is, of course, it's Moses. But Miriam is following Moses along. She's hiding in the reeds when Moses comes creeping along. And there are some servant women outside working. And here comes Moses. And they see Moses. Oh, what the cute little baby this is. And so they give this baby, take it out of the Nile, and they take it to not only the one and only Pharaoh's daughter. Can you believe it? That's like boom, mind blown, right? The Israelite baby that the Pharaoh decrees to be thrown into the Nile to die is floating along the Nile, surviving, and is plucked out by the servant of the Pharaoh's daughter herself, who looks at the baby and is like, oh, look at the little baby. I've got to have this. And she decides to keep the baby herself. So Miriam, who is watching all this, goes up to the Pharaoh's daughter. And this is a brave moment, right? And so she goes up to the Pharaoh's daughter and says, hey, listen, you might need somebody to watch the baby. And let me tell you, there is nobody better at watching babies than Israelite women. And I've got a woman that would be great to watch this baby. So the Pharaoh's daughter goes, okay, let's bring this woman in. And so Miriam goes back to her village and grabs, guess who? Her mom, who is Moses' mom, Jochebed, and brings her. And Jochebed, the mother of Moses, actually gets to be the nanny who takes care of Moses. Again, one of those mind-blowing moments, right? So Moses, not only is he saved out of the Nile, he is pulled out and rescued by Pharaoh's daughter, who gets to be watched by his own mom, is actually getting to be an actual prince of Egypt, right? So he grows up and he kind of because of who his mom is, the nanny, and he kind of is this dual person, right? Kind of, sort of. I don't want to say he's two different people in his head or anything, but he's grown up being raised in this Egyptian family as a prince, but his mom is an Israelite and a Hebrew, and is kind of laying some of that foundation into Moses's heart and into his mind. And so one day, Moses, as he's grown up older, is walking through Egypt when he comes upon a guard. An Egyptian guard is sitting there, and he is whipping a Hebrew slave because the slave wasn't doing what he was told to do. I don't know what it was, but he is being beaten. And this sets something off in Moses. He goes and he kills this guard for beating this person. Well, in Egyptian law, it didn't matter. If an Egyptian killed another Egyptian, this Egyptian that killed the other one, he is sentenced to death. And Moses knows this. And so he ends up fleeing. He ends up running away into the desert, and he runs away. Whereupon he comes into a village, and he becomes a shepherd in this village. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the next thing that happens with Moses in the mountains of where he's at. So I hope you hang tight to this series that we're going to be talking about with Moses, because it's so important to talk about just the big things that we see happening along with Moses' life. The unbelievable, the mind-blowing things that have been going on. We've already seen a couple. The horrible decree, that's mind-blowing to me. I just can't imagine somebody being so evil that would think of something so horrible. But we see that the mind-blowing events of the Pharaoh's own daughter grabbing Moses and making Moses her son. Jochebed, Moses' mom, becoming the nanny of Moses. And just all that stuff. It's mind-blowing to sit there and see all this. And next week, we're going to really talk about some mind-blowing stuff that's going to be happening that's beyond our belief. So guys, hang tight. Verse is coming up. I hope you guys are taking all these stories in and listening to them and bringing them straight into your heart. And I hope it's going in there and God is just breaking your heart for him, and that he is just holding fast to you guys. And I hope you're holding fast to him. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great week. Bye. Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your paths. Psalm 25:4.